Welcome back. It's another edition of Ask Eddie and Ann and Charlotte.
That's actually Emily.
Oh, that's Emily. Okay,
Emily.
Sorry, Emily. Didn't mean to offend you or anything. We were rushing to start because Emily was doing some really lewd things there on the couch, and we wanted to try to capture that for posterity. But now she's got this great. Her eyes are just barely visible in the bottom of the frame, and she's. It's good. It's going to be good. Okay.
Okay.
And I have my my libation, and I'm all set. So let's just dive right in.
Be good if I had the right questions. So.
Okay.
One of those days. Okay. Hi, Eddie. I see you play the role of the dead body in a number of still photos posters, and I wonder if you have ever aspired to play a role with a little more life in it. If you could, what role in what film would you most like to have played? I am assuming that your acting skills are on par with the best, since your ability to portray the victim in grisly death is unequaled. Jody.
Jody. I wonder if that's Jody up in Petaluma that I know, Joni Levac-Werner. Yeah, Jody is referring to the fact that I normally play a dead guy on the Noir City posters. Not always dead.
Yeah.
Number 10, I was definitely alive.
Yeah.
And we sneak me in sometimes when it's not obvious. It's my Hitchcock cameo. I don't know. I will say this about that question. I feel that I do have some background in acting, not really as an actor. I would not want to disrespect real actors by saying that I have acted, but I know what it's about. I've directed theater. I have a great appreciation for it. I have been asked to appear in things. I think people who are making like low budget noir things, and sometimes I get emails saying, would you play this small role or something in the film? And I always turn it down because it's just kind of gimmicky. Whatever. But there's no part in like a classic noir or anything that I would say, oh, I would love to do. This is a tough question for me to answer because I kind of get it, because part of what I do is acting. I act the role of the host on television.
Yeah.
And it does require acting, which doesn't mean you're pretending or anything. It just means you're comfortable being watched when you are performing. To me, that's kind of like what it is. So I don't really have a good answer for Jody's question. Maybe as we go along, I'll think of something. But the acting question is an interesting one because I really respect actors. And I think they tend to be overlooked a bit when people talk about movies, right? Everybody loves actors, but like when we talk about the history of film noir or the history of screwball comedy, it's like, the actors are it. Like Francois Truffaut said, people pay to see the actors. They don't pay to see the directors. They don't really pay to see the writers. They pay to see the actors. And there's no way that you can overvalue what great actors bring to a movie. So I feel awkward even discussing this in a way.
Okay. So this is Marty from Delaware. Hi, Eddie Ann. One of the terrific cast of supporting character out of the terrific cast of supporting character actors, which ones are your favorites? Thanks for doing all this. Marty from Delaware donated $50 to the Film Noir Foundation yesterday. Thank you.
Good man. By the way, we should, if I haven't mentioned it, we should tell people that, you know, last month we had that donation drive, thanks to Jay and Connie, the Crumps in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And they were putting up $1,000 if we took in $1,000 in donations. We took in well more than $1,000 in donations. And right over here on my desk, I have Jay and Connie's check for $1,000. So that was fantastic. I think we should maybe try to do that again.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see if there are, maybe I'll match it. So we will do that again. And I cannot express how grateful I am to the folks, since we don't have the festivals right now, the people that are hanging with us and continuing to donate. It has really, really been gratifying. The question was supporting cast.
Yeah.
Who do we really love? Okay.
Yeah.
Anne, you go first.
Oh my.
I caught you right
Got
there
me.
with the cup going to your lips. That was good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to count Dan Duray since he also did supporting roles.
No, that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah.
That's good. Oh God, what's his name? The one that, oh God, he was in, geez. Okay, I'm blanking.
Okay.
I'll go back to him.
Okay. Well, here's the way we should do this, because it's not just like, you know,
Albert
supporting.
Decker.
Oh, Albert Decker. Yeah, of course. Okay. Yes, from Kiss Me Deadly and Among the Living and The Killers and yeah, and The Pretender, which is a film that we really should try to restore. That was like John Alton's first noir that he shot in Hollywood, and it's a B from Republic, directed by Billy Wilder's brother, W. Lee Wilder, and it just doesn't show up anywhere. And I don't, you know, I've been kind of had an eye out for elements on that film for a while, and it's elusive. But that would be good. So, you know, I think I've mentioned this before, and it's worth saying it again. A few years ago, TCM invited me and Rose McGowan, who is a huge noir fan, to do an event at the TCM Classic Festival where we pretended we were the head of a studio in the 40s, and we got to make the ultimate film noir. Writer, director, we got to cast it and everything. So the casting, what's important is it's like male lead, female lead, but this was specifically supporting. But I found that it mattered as to what role it was, like the informant, the cop, the two-timing, you know, hoodlum.
Yeah.
So that kind of colors your, you know, I would say, you know, you can never go wrong having Esther Howard in your movie.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, I just put Esther Howard in anything.
Yeah.
If she's the landlady, if she's the barfly, the you know, in Detour, she's working the counter in the Nevada diner.
Oh, and also Lanchester's that way too.
Exactly. Just put them in the film, you know. When it comes to the cop, I'm kind of partial to Regis Toomey.
Oh yeah.
I really like Regis Toomey because of how laid back he is. I mean, it's funny, you know, when you think of movies from that era, you were only a few years out of the 30s when everybody talked super fast in movies. And here's Regis Toomey, and he just does this thing where he talks so slow all the time in the movie. And he's great, you know, because anyway, so there's a couple. Obviously, Elijah Cook Jr., Whit Bissell. You know, one of those two guys has to be the stoolie, the weakling, you know. Charles McGraw, obviously. Yeah. But we need more women. How about some good female supporting roles? You know, well, Esther Howard is the best of all, but Thelma Ritter. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know how we
Thelma Ritter. I mean, she's the greatest. Well, yeah, you could argue that Thelma Ritter is the greatest supporting actress in Hollywood history.
Mm-hmm.
right? 6 Oscar nominations, and you know, and she wasn't always Thelma Ritter. You know, I mean, she was always kind of the really smart, don't try to get over on me New Yorker in most of her movies, but the characters were different. It wasn't always Thelma Ritter. I wonder if back then they said, you know, like the famous, you know, it's a Thelma Ritter part. Get me someone like Thelma Ritter. And they usually got Thelma Ritter.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how you get nominated for 6 Oscars.
Yeah. And of course, Celeste Holm, I think. And then, oh my gosh, our Miss Brooks.
Eve Arden.
Eve Arden, thank you.
Yeah, Eve Arden is the best. Yeah. Okay, we got it covered.
Yeah.
Between Thelma Ritter, Eve Arden, and Esther Howard, I think we've got it all covered there. That would be good.
Yeah, and of course Peter Lorre and Sidney Greenstreet, who we didn't mention.
Well, Sidney Greenstreet, see, now what, we just cast a great movie with no stars.
I know.
So this is like a Robert Altman noir, right? Where it's just all supporting actors,
character actors just doing their thing.
Yeah.
And I think they all could have improvised. Okay, and this is from Harry. So recently, thanks to Netflix, I watched the 1939 film of Mice and Men. The film seemed noir to me, with the characters, even before the opening titles, being on the run from crime and its consequences. Have any filmmakers taken the film's ingredients and remade the film as a more typical film noir?
Interesting question. So he's saying, has anybody basically ripped off of Mice and Men to turn it into like a crime movie? Not that I can think of. I mean, the only thing that kind of comes to mind, this popped into my head because it was on TCM the other day, was Moonrise, where the relationship that Dane Clark has with Harry Morgan, who plays Billy Pilgrim in that movie, kind of reminds me of like the guy who has to look out for his non-compos mentis friend, you know, which is heartbreaking. I know that last time we did this, there was a question about what noir makes you cry, or what noir makes you really emotional. And I hadn't thought about it, but Moonrise is one of those, and not the end. It's the stuff in the middle, especially the stuff with Harry Morgan. Just that one moment where he's walking down the street and he sees his name in the cement, where he wrote his name and put his footprints or handprints or something in the cement when he was a boy.
Yeah.
And he's so simple, he can't quite comprehend why it's different now, why it doesn't fit. And it's like that's an amazing moment from the book too. But beautifully rendered. So anyway.
And also, because of Mice and Men received 3 Academy Award nominations, including for Best Picture, do you think it would be released on Blu-ray, including commentary and extras, or is the film too downbeat, or are there rights issues or something?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm inclined, with absolutely no evidence to go on, I'm inclined to say it might be a situation like with The Great Gatsby, because it's a famous literary work that they kind of buried the original one. There wasn't of Mice and Men, right? Not that long ago. I think Gary Sinise was in it, and unless I'm mistaken,
like 30 years. That was like at least, I think that was like 20 years ago.
And
I was still working in video stores.
So. And you're killing me with this, because I got to tell you, it's been a weird week, because it really hit me this week. Like, and I never think about this stuff, but it really hit me this week, like how old I am.
Yeah.
When I was watching all the Senate trial, the impeachment trial, and all that stuff, and I'm watching these people and remembering when I went through all this as a young person with Watergate and the whole thing of, you know, impeaching Nixon and all that stuff. And then we went through it again with Bill Clinton, and now we're going through it again. And I'm like, I now I did this just about an hour ago. I said, Siri, what is the average age of a United States congressperson? And I am over the average age of a United States congressperson. So I'm watching all this stuff on TV, and it's just like, these people should know better. You know, I mean, obviously, it's scary to watch this stuff and say, Mitch McConnell is my contemporary.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's just too weird. So anyway, this has been on my mind recently. I don't know how this fits in with what well, because you said that Of Mice and Men is so old now, you know, and it's like, oh, didn't they just do a remake of that? It's like, yeah, 30 years ago.
So, sort of. Okay.
This is the theory of relativity, Anne. You know, this is how it works, right? You know, like, relatively speaking, I'm still young, but I'm not. You know, it's just, it's funny. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay, and this one's from David. I just wanted to know what film truly represents the essence of film noir and why.
Double Indemnity.
Double Indemnity. Yeah. It has everything.
We have had this question a few times, but
and we've always said Double Indemnity. So
and I've always said Double Indemnity. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Me too.
But it is funny that I see sometimes when I make the grave mistake of going on social media, and I see things posted where people are saying, I'm getting into film noir and I'm going to show some to, you know, my nephew or something. And I decided to start with, and there'll be some film that's like, why would you start with that? You know, it's Double Indemnity. I realize that some of these people are very conservative, and they don't want the sex stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, you kind of can't take that out of film noir.
Yeah.
That's in there. You know, so if you said, what are the ones to start with? It's Double Indemnity and it's Out of the Past. And
yeah,
and those movies are propelled by sex. Now, in Out of the Past, it's real. In Double Indemnity, I don't think it's real. I think neither of those two people actually have genuine passion for each other. You know, Stanwyck and McMurray, I think it's all kind of a put on. They're up to something else. And they're using the sex. Clearly, Robert Mitchum is obsessed with Jane Greer in Out of the Past. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
But you know, you can't pull. And I get it. They're saying that probably they were trying to entice these kids when they're a little too young.
Yeah.
For some of this stuff. So it's like, don't show them Kiss Me Deadly, you know, because like that's just perverted behavior start to finish. But anyway, it's Double Indemnity.
Okay, so Harriet asks, after many viewings of the Maltese Falcon, I can't figure out when Sam and Bridget were having a romance. Also,
good placement of these questions. That's good.
And then also topic 2, I still swoon over George Raft. I'm a young 73, and I get upset about these Bogart Raft comparisons on TCM. I also find George Raft amazingly attractive. I am not 73.
Okay, two things. Trust me on this. Sam and Bridget definitely had time to do things. If you, obviously they're not going to do this in the film version. They're not going to make it obvious, although it is pretty obvious. Yeah. You know, when you read the novel, it's unmistakable. You know, I mean, she wakes up in Sam's Murphy bed in the apartment, and he makes breakfast and all. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's just it's obvious. George Raft, I totally get it. George Raft is an incredibly charismatic screen presence. He is not a very good actor by his own admission, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I
agree.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen Quick Millions, right? Spencer Tracy and George Raft. George Raft is like Spencer Tracy's right-hand man in Quick Millions. It's a 1933, it's a Roland Brown film, but George Raft has a dance scene in that movie where he just spontaneously does this dance in the middle of a party. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how great he is. So I totally get George Raft. I just find it, as a guy who writes about film noir, it's very amusing that he turned down so many roles.
I know.
That became iconic roles, mostly for Humphrey Bogart, right?
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, how do you pass up the opportunity to kind of make fun of the guy? But other than that, I have no issue with George Raft, you know. So.
No. Yeah, I fell in love the first time I ever saw him on screen, which was actually on a screen, and it was Scarface, and I just totally fell for him.
Mm-hmm.
He is something else. Okay, this one's from David Cramer. Ever hear of the film Alias the Champ, a vehicle for the pro wrestler Gorgeous George? It was released in 1949 from RKO Studios with the usual suspects you have in many RKO pictures. Interesting story about gas, the fixing of a pro wrestling match. Who could think of a plot so far-fetched? By the way, George is no actor. Have you seen that film?
I saw it a long time ago, and it's part of that. You know, one of the reasons I call RKO the House of Noir is that they could take anything and turn it into a film noir, what looks like a film noir, you know. And Alias the Champ sort of does look and feel somewhat like a film noir. But then they did all those Dick Tracy movies too, and you could argue that those are film noir. You know, I mean, it's classic cops and robbers stuff, but just the way they're shot. That's what people talk about when they talk about that era, that 1940s era, and the look of film noir. It's, you know, anyway, so I might have to revisit Alias the Champ again, but you know, there's even a couple of Joe Palooka movies that kind of feel a little bit like noir. It's like, you know, you watch. I'm not downplaying the whole noir movement thing, but when you watch some TV shows today, there is a look to these shows that is totally calculated, and I'm not entirely sure that the filmmakers know that they're doing this. It's just like, this is how we do it now. You know, the draining the color and tinting everything kind of yellow, and it's just like, holy cow, this is not natural in any way. This look is as unnatural as black and white chiaroscuro from film noir. It's just a different look. You know, it's this leached out computer color thing that they do. Anyway, which they didn't do, I'll have you know, on Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
They did something else entirely. I mean, that show is so computer enhanced in terms of the visuals, but it's unique. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I think the cinematography on Saul is amazing. It's the best looking show. It really is. And they were very disappointed that they couldn't shoot on film. But, you know.
Well, it's interesting, and I've watched some of those shows where it's like, my God, this is high definition television. It's eerie, like how immediate some of those episodes feel. It's just weird. I don't think it's me, I don't think it's I've been drinking or smoking too much or something. I just think it's like, damn, this thing is intense in terms of the visuals. I love it. Okay, moving on.
Moving on. This is from John. Do you think the Friends of Eddie Coyle is noir material? It certainly has a lot of noir elements like double crossing, somewhat of a crooked cop, and in the end he is whacked by the crime boss hitman. But more importantly, Robert Mitchum gives an excellent performance right down to the Massachusetts New England accent, which I can attest to because I grew up in New Hampshire. Please consider this and would love for you to mention it. Well,
absolutely. No, I mean, the Friends of Eddie Coyle is not only probably the quintessential 70s noir novel. That goes without saying, right? Elmore Leonard said it was the greatest novel, crime novel he'd ever read. But that movie is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I put it high up on the list. I hope I get to show that. You know, I mentioned, I think before, I'm doing a neo-noir series on TCM, and I would love to be able to include the Friends of Eddie Coyle. And if anybody hasn't seen this, the late, great Anthony Bourdain did an episode of his show set in Boston that the entire thing was a tribute to the Friends of Eddie Coyle.
Wow.
Yeah, he went to all the places that were in the book. He does scenes where he says, you may wonder why I'm just sitting in this car in this parking lot by the train station. They were just recreating all of these scenes from the movie, and he had a friend of his like recreate the score for this show. It was one of the best episodes. I think that was No Reservations, I think was the show that he was doing. But it was absolutely fantastic. It was just a huge tribute to the Friends of Eddie Coyle.
That's amazing. Lisa, this is from Lisa. I'm a longtime Nora Alley viewer and have been thoroughly enjoying Ask Eddie since I discovered it last fall. My question is, the reckless moment has been mentioned a couple of times in previous live streams. I'm wondering if Eddie has any thoughts on the source book.
It's fantastic. Yeah, The Blank Wall.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Saxony Holding. It's sensational.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. It's interesting that we're an upcoming issue of the Noir City magazine will have an article by Christina Newland, who's a wonderful writer in England, from New York, but transplanted to England. And Christina is writing an essay about the reckless moment.
Oh, great.
That's really good. And I really think that that's a film that is going to start growing. Its reputation is going to start growing. It's hard to see, which is unfortunate, but I had one of the great experiences of my life recently, a long phone conversation with my favorite author in the world, Paul Auster. And we were talking about our favorite noir films, and he said The Reckless Moment was one of his favorite noir movies. And that just was so fantastic, you know. He surprised me. He said, you know, out of the past, obviously, but then he said, out of the past, They Won't Believe Me, In a Lonely Place, The Reckless Moment, and DOA were like his 5 favorite noir films. And it's like, man, that's pretty good.
That's a good list.
Yeah. So you have that to look forward to in an upcoming issue of the Noir City magazine as well. And you can tell people how to subscribe. But yes, there will be a rather lengthy interview that I have with Paul Auster in the magazine.
Okay, so to get the magazine, you do 2 things. You go to filmnoirfoundation.org or to a contribute page, and you donate $20, and then you have to sign up on our email list, because that's how you get the magazine, is we email you a link when it comes out and you download it. And whenever you, first subscribe, we do send you the current issue. It takes about 24 to 48 hours for you to get the link and stuff, because we have to process things on our end. But yeah, There you go. It's a good magazine.
And I might add, you're not limited to $20.
No, $20 or more. More. It's great. Thank you, Eddie. That was a good thing to point out. Okay, this is from Dennis. Can you recommend some classic noir set in rural small town locations? On Dangerous Ground takes Robert Ryan from gritty city to snow-covered mountains. Also, there's Dennis O'Keefe and Cover Up, but I'd love to see more.
That kind of reminds me of a question we had last week. Among the Living is one that immediately popped. Moonrise, which we mentioned earlier in this show, is a small town noir. I guess, let's see what, there's a crazy movie. I don't know why this popped into my head. There's a crazy movie, I think from 1951 called The Whip Hand, which William Cameron Menzies had a lot to do with, it's a guy going on a fishing trip to a small town, and then he stumbles across the fact that there's an international plot centered in this small town. It's like an episode of The Avengers. Have you ever seen The Whip Hand? Have you ever seen this movie?
No, it sounds really, really strange.
Okay, so initially, the whole plot was they were hiding Hitler in this small town in America, and it's an RKO film. But then they changed it because Howard Hughes felt it was more topical if it was a commie thing.
Of course.
Then Hitler didn't die in the bunker. They snuck him out, and he's being kept by these neo-Nazis in this small town, like up on the Canadian border. This is a great small town noir. And what's really cool about it is it's all interchangeable because nobody is obviously saying what they're up to. Right. So it's just people, and Raymond Burr is in it. He's one of the bad guys in the film. It's really a pretty interesting movie. And that sort of typifies there's evil things happening in the small town. Yeah. I guess Storm Warning.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
That's not a total noir. It's kind of a message film that looks like a film noir, but it's a really good movie. I like that movie a lot. So there's a handful of small town noirs to go look for.
And this one's from Lawrence. I enjoyed the collaboration between Alan Ladd and William Bendix in The Glass Key, The Blue Dahlia, and in the war movie The Deep Six. But I read that they became off-screen buddies. Is that true, and to what extent? And are there any other off-screen friendships in noir filmmaking?
Yes, it's true that Alan Ladd and William Bendix, this is very noir. They did become best friends after they made The Glass Key, and Bendix, knocked Alan Ladd out cold in that scene where where he beats him up. And they became really good pals. But then the friendship fell apart very dramatically because, Alan Ladd's wife, Sue Carroll, was his agent. And they lived across the street from each other. They had homes right across the street from each other. But by the time they were making The Blue Dahlia, Bendix made this is the story I heard. Bendix made some crack about Alan Ladd kind of dodging his military service. And it really rubbed Alan Ladd the wrong way, and they never spoke again. So it was really unfortunate, I mean, I've heard that story several places, and it's in the Beverly Lynette's Alan Ladd biography, and it's a sad story. I will say this: the great noir friendship that supersedes all others, Lawrence Tierney and Elijah Cook Jr.
It's just such a strange combination.
Yeah, I mean, they were pals. I mean, when I knew Lawrence Tierney, he must have spent 20 minutes talking to me just about his buddy Cookie, how great Cookie was and how much he loved Cookie. These guys would go fishing together, and they would just, I'm sure they would just get totally hammered, you know, after a day of fishing. And you know, I know it doesn't that seem amazing? Like Noir's biggest weasel and Noir's biggest badass were like best buddies. I love that.
Me too. It makes me happy. Okay. This is a question. A question for Eddie. Best noir westerns, which I don't think we should discuss because we discussed this like at least twice before. And this is a good thing for me to go back. In fact, I think that's on our first ever Ask Eddie. So if you go to YouTube and go to our channel, North City SF, you can find all our previous episodes there. And we have covered that extensively. But his second question is worst noir of any genre.
Wait, worst noir of any genre. Okay, this is an interesting question because it's assuming that noir is not a genre, because it's worst noir of any genre. God, that's just. I'm going to say, and I know I hate doing this because I'm going to say it, and it's going to be somebody's favorite film.
Yeah, I know, that's
right. But there was a film made in like 56 or something, so it's like the tail end of the whole thing. But there's a picture called The Price of Fear with Merle Oberon, and it sticks in my mind as being particularly bad because I used to keep notebooks when I would watch these films and, you know, write my thoughts about the movie, just jot down some thoughts. And once upon a time I said, you know, a movie is bad when you start concentrating on the furniture, right? Because it's like, damn, look, that's a great lamp. I wish I had that lamp. Oh man, look at that settee. That is gorgeous. You know, that divan. I wish I had that. And I remember, and I was looking back through my notes, and for The Price of Fear, all they said was, nice lamps.
Yeah. No, I saw here in San Francisco, I guess they were doing a national tour when Kevin Spacey did Richard III. And I went to see it because my friend was in town. And so my best friend said, well, how was it? And I said, you know, the lighting design was really incredible. She says, oh, was that good?
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. You know, back when, before all this pandemic nonsense happened, the last public event that I did was this night with David Mamet at the Aero Theater in Santa Monica. And he said that this, you know, was a great quote. He said, you know, when people leave a movie and they say, oh my God, the cinematography was fantastic, the movie's a failure. Right? It's a failure. If you're not leaving wrapped up in the story and, you know, the character motivations and the decisions they made, if you leave and say, God, that looked beautiful, it's like, of course, that's coming from a writer, but but you know, everything is in support of the story, and we'll leave it there. I'm going to say The Price of Fear is the one that I really didn't get into.
Okay, and this one's from Michael. I'm looking for trial procedure rules. I'm looking for trial procedure rules that focus upon the prosecutor and can be considered film noir. Suggestions. I know the underlooked film Humphrey Bogart, assistant director, and the enforcer, and Zero Mostel as a bonus. 1955's Illegal with Edward G. Robinson as an assistant district attorney, Anatomy of Murder, but I don't think that counts as film noir. There are several Mr. District Attorney films as well as Mr. District Attorney in the Carter case. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this one. So I guess a trial procedural that focuses upon the prosecutor and can be considered film noir.
Well, that's a tough one, I have to say, because if there's one thing that kind of kills it for me as being a noir, it's when it veers into courtroom drama.
Yeah.
Right? It's funny, I just got an email hours ago from somebody who was like really wound up and upset because they watched Boomerang on Amazon Prime, and it was advertised as a film noir. And of course, it's not really a film noir. It's a courtroom drama, you know? And so many of these films that where Act 3 takes place in the courtroom, if not the whole thing, that it's very, very hard, you know, to be a noir. It would have to be a courtroom drama along the lines of something like I Confess, the Hitchcock film, where the priest knows something and he can't reveal it because of his oath, right? If I'm trying to think of where's the movie where the prosecutor knows the truth but conceals it for his case. And what are the consequences of that, right? It's interesting, you know, that you could. I kind of want to say, because David Mamet was in my head just now, that The Verdict is kind of, there are noir elements to it, but not really. It's a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
You know, so. I don't know. I mean, there are noir films that have prolonged courtroom scenes, like Angel Face.
Yeah.
Obviously, The Postman Always Rings Twice. You know, the Act 3 has courtroom stuff that they decide to get through as quickly as possible, smartly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's probably more neo-noir films where you have compromised attorneys than you saw back in the original era.
Huh.
I wish I could do better. I wish I could do better for this person, but that's all I got right now.
This is from Mike. Eddie, any possibility that the major studios will release a 4K UHD box sets of any well-known film noir directors, such as Universal's recent release of Alfred Hitchcock Classic Collection?
I would probably say no, because there are very, very few directors in the world that rate a box set anymore, right? I mean, they're just. I mean, you'll see it in art house stuff, maybe. Criterion might release something like that, but even then, it's probably doubtful. Like, you might see a Hitchcock, you might see like what? I don't even know who else would rate, you know? And when I say rate, it's like, that's just like, they think they're going to make their money back doing a boxed set of this stuff. That's all I mean. But certainly nobody that is synonymous with film noir. Because not only doesn't it mean anything to the average person, like a Robert Siodmak boxed set means nothing to the average person, and you can't do it because the films are all over the place. You know, some of them are owned by Disney, some of them are owned by Universal, some, you know, you just can't pull it all together. I am very pleased to see how many one-off things are happening right now. you know, with Criterion and Kino and some of these other outfits that are overseas, Arrow, and there's an outfit in Australia that's doing stuff. That's all great, but I don't think you'll see them marketed by the director. Like, I don't even think that Fritz Lang would rate a box set anymore. Even if he made all of his movies at one studio, which we know he did not do, I don't think anybody would package a Fritz Lang boxed set, because I just don't know if it's going to work. You know, if there's going to be the ROI, as they say. So that doesn't mean that they're not all out there, and they won't all be out there for you to collect. But I just don't think you're going to see it in the set.
There's an Anthony Mann set of just like 4 of his North, and that's about all I've seen.
And are the 4 all from the same studio?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that kind of makes sense. It would be great to have an Anthony Mann Westerns
collection.
Set. That would be incredible. Like, you know, that was one of the great things when Sony did that Bud Bedecker collection. That was, but I don't think it sold. Yeah. You know, they also did a Sam Fuller collection. You know, Fuller at Columbia, and I just don't think they sell sufficiently. So.
Yeah, and I've got gorgeous John Ford sets too that came out, which is
well, that was a Ford at Fox. That was.
Yeah.
Those were the days, huh? Those were the days.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I had pre-ordered it and like 2 showed up on one day, and I was like, "This is weird." And then my dad called me and said, "Oh yeah, did you get the John Ford set? I sent it to you."
That's very sweet. Hey, you know, Ann, I want to just say real quick. I really love the picture you posted of your parents.
Thank you.
For Valentine's Day. That was wonderful. I got a huge. That was great. They seem like fabulous folks.
They loved each other very much. It was an amazing relationship up until my father died. Yeah, it was like, you know, it really, really in love. Very, very inspiring and wonderful.
How long were they together?
Over 50 years.
Fantastic. That is an amazing accomplishment. But that was a beautiful photo.
Yeah, thank you. My brother Sean took that at the Waffle House.
Perfect.
Dick Mason. Here you go. So little known actors give a take. So just quick takes from you on these actors.
I'll try.
Faye Helm.
Faye Helm. Quick take on Faye Helm. I don't know. I don't think about Faye Helm very often, but when I do, it's with fondness. I don't know what else to
say.
She's probably like this guy's favorite actress in the world, and you know.
Okay. Jean Brooks.
Well, Jean Brooks, I think we've mentioned Jean Brooks before, right?
Actually, we talked about her.
But it still amazes me that I don't think that many people realize that Jean Brooks was married to Richard Brooks, and that's because she was Jean Kelly, and then changed her name when she married Richard Brooks, which was only serendipitous because that other Jean Kelly was coming to prominence around the same time. A sad story, but really indelible in a couple of films. Obviously, The Seventh Victim. She's
incredible. Yeah. Douglas Fowley.
Yeah, he's good. He's such a sleazeball. You know, I like Douglas Fowley. I'm thinking of him in like Armored Car Robbery and a few other things from that time. You know, he did a lot of RKO-B movies, but he was great at being you always knew that it was possible that he was going to get wasted, not drunk wasted, but like somebody's going to kill him.
Yeah.
before Act 3 begins, you know. So he was good. I liked him.
Steve Barkley.
Who?
Steve Barkley?
I don't even know who that is.
I don't know who it is either. Alan Curtis?
Yeah, Alan Curtis. I used to not like Alan Curtis. I don't know. I thought he was like the weak link in Phantom Lady. And then were you there when we showed Destiny at the Noir City Festival in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Right. I showed.
Oh, was he the sleazy rapey guy?
He was the sleazy rapey guy that raped Gloria Jean in that movie.
Oh, I did not like him.
No, no. It was like a whole different Alan Curtis, and it's like, holy cow. Yeah, that changed my whole take on him, seeing him in that role. And anyway, that's still my dream project, is unifying Flesh and Fantasy and getting Destiny back into the anthology as the 4-part anthology that movie is supposed to be, instead of the 3 parts that exist now in Flesh and Fantasy, and then Destiny's its own thing. But it would require cutting out a lot of Alan Curtis from Destiny to put him back into Flesh and Fantasy the way he's supposed to be, which is absolutely horrendous. Like one of the worst villains in movies of the 40s. Oh, yeah. So that's my Alan Curtis take.
Okay, Robert Osterloh.
Robert Osterloh. Yeah, he's one of these guys. He's like a Elijah Cook or Whit Bissell, that he's in a lot more movies than you realize. Like, you know, this guy, Robert Osterloh, is the guy at the end of Crisscross that visits Burt Lancaster in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then drives him to meet Yvonne DiCarlo at the end of the film. But he's in a million
things.
He's in a
ton of stuff.
Yeah. He's in The Prowler. He's in 7-Eleven Ocean Drive. He is the cop that Peggy Cummins hits over the head with her gun butt in Gun Crazy. When the cop walks up and she gets out of the car and then clocks him so that they can escape. That's Robert Osterloh. Yeah, he's in a ton of stuff, and he's always really good. And he also has a voice kind of like this, you know, where he's doing this weird thing with his voice. There's a line and I use it all the time. His line from Crisscross is where he says, at the end of the film, he says, "Don't close the door, leave the door open." It drives my wife crazy because every time she like shuts the door, I go, "Don't close the door, leave the door open."
William Shalee, is that how you pronounce it? Shalee?
Boy,
C-H-A-L-E.
They are digging deep here. I don't know if I'd show me a picture of this guy.
I know, I have no idea.
William Shalee. It's probably somebody that I absolutely know, and I'm just like blanking out on it. But whatever.
The wonderful Esther Howard.
Well, we've discussed.
We just discussed, so that
face
worked
like
out.
A bucket of mud, yeah. But not if you see pictures of her in her younger days. Esther Howard was a looker in her younger days, you know, and God love her. She just, you know, I'm gonna get work. Yeah. I'm just gonna let it happen, and I'm gonna continue to get work. And she was great.
And this next one's from John. Okay, here's a fun one. Recast a classic noir. Eddie, You Get a Place in the Sun, directed by Edgar Ulmer. Who would you cast? Then we'll do mine.
Okay. Well, you're right off the bat, you're dreaming if you think Edgar Ulmer gets anywhere near a best-selling, you know, American literary classic. Yeah, Theodore Dreiser's American Tragedy, directed by Edgar Ulmer. I don't think that's going to happen. But since we're just playing around, who would I recast? That's tough because that casting is so fantastic.
Yeah.
How could you possibly see anybody else than Montgomery Clift and Liz Taylor in that? But I will say this. Everybody in Hollywood was up for the role of, I can't remember her name, but the Shelley Winters character, right?
Yeah.
The victim,
yeah.
Who dies in that film. So Audrey Totter was up for that. Ann Savage was up for that. I mean, I know it was so funny because when I was doing my book, Dark City Dames, it became like a running gag because everybody I'd say, what was your biggest disappointment? And these actresses would all say that I didn't get that part in A Place in the Sun. that goddamn Shelley Winters got that part because, we won't say why all these actresses thought Shelley Winters got the part, but except for Marie Windsor, because there's no way Marie could have played that part, right? She's just too physically imposing to play that part. But virtually everybody else that I interviewed for that book was trying to get that role, which was a plum role. And let's face it, Shelley Winters kills it. She's absolutely
she does. I really could imagine anyone better in that role. No.
Shelley Winters is, incredible, absolutely incredible. But I'm having a hard time seeing that unless you wanted to just go full on noir and say it's like Lana Turner in the Liz Taylor role, and then who would be the John Garfield? I get it. There is no Montgomery Clift without John Garfield, but they are not. They are not. How about James Dean? James Dean instead of Montgomery Clift, right?
Yeah,
James Dean and Lana Turner.
Yeah. And for the Shelley Winters role,
Ann Savage. I'm just dying thinking of like James Dean and Ann Savage together on screen. Like, how is that even possible? All right. I went there with that question. That was fun.
Okay.
What's yours? What's yours?
You get Sunset Boulevard, directed by John Waters. Okay. Obviously, Norma Desmond is played by Divine.
Well,
that's just the given. For Joe McGillis, that's a little harder, but I'm going to go through anybody who's been in a Waters film because his guy actors were not great. So I'm going to go Tab Hunter.
Actually, since I know Tab or new Tab, I'm going to say, how about Tab playing Norma Desmond?
That would be interesting.
That would, I'm joking. Tab would have never done that. What about Johnny Depp?
I thought about Johnny Depp. Actually, it was like a toss up between Johnny Depp and Tab Hunter, because since Johnny Depp was in Crybaby, I thought I could also use him. And then, but I think for Max, I would go for Mink Stoll in male drag. And then, of course, there's the three people who play bridge. So then you could get little Edie in there and maybe like Vivian Pierce and, some of the Jean Hill. There you go.
Okay. You gave this a little bit of thought. Okay. The John Waters version. That's pretty good. We should contact John and ask him if he got to make Sunset Boulevard, who would he cast?
Yeah.
He'd probably surprise us by, picking completely straight, normal performers to do this. Yeah. Anyway, that was that was an interesting question. All right.
This is from Jody. Dear Eddie and Ann, who is your least favorite film noir actor? Mine is Broderick Crawford.
Oh.
That's Jody's, not mine.
I feel bad for Broderick Crawford.
Oh.
Least favorite. Well, what's funny is, you know, we've created a monster, and because there is no such thing as a film noir actor.
Yeah.
There are actors and actresses who made a lot of noir films, but nobody who is completely synonymous with noir, right? So I guess this question is asking, of those actors who are synonymous with film noir, who's your least favorite? And honestly, I don't really have one, because everybody does something a little different, you know. I can't even think of somebody who's like, this guy, I'm not going to watch this. I just don't. There isn't a single one. I kind of get why Jody is saying Broderick Crawford. I mean, he is so unique. But I really like his performances in, you know, All the King's Men, The Mob, Scandal Sheet, Convicted, even back to like Black Angel that he did with your pal Dan Duryea. I mean, he's good in that. You know, he was a type, but I get it. This is not a, we all have our thing, you know, like I don't like this person and whatever, but I have none. How about you?
You know, I was thinking, I don't think there's someone I don't think there's anybody who regularly appears in noir that I don't actually like. You know, I mean, I definitely have people I really love, but I don't think I really have anyone where I'm like, oh, him again or her again. I don't really have that. No.
There is nobody whose presence in one of these films disappoints me. The film may disappoint me, but the performers, not really. I can't think of a one.
Like I said, I don't really have anybody either. So this is from Michael. It seems like no director worked with a wider range of great noir cinematographers more than Fritz Lang. What was his motivation for this as opposed to working with one more consistently? Did he ever come close to working with Alton? And why did he never work with Stanley Cortez again, as I think his work on Secret Beyond the Door elevated that film more than any other?
Well, the answer to that is that Fritz Lang jumped around.
Yeah.
Because he was not liked by the studio bosses. So he would get a deal at a studio and he'd work with their cinematographers, and then they'd get rid of him, and then he'd have to work with other cinematographers. I mean, that was pretty much it. It wasn't like directors got to say, I'm going to make this movie and I want this cameraman. It just didn't work that way. I mean, when you got a deal at the studio, you used the studio's cameraman, you know, and granted, John Alton was a freelancer. So, but you'll notice that John Alton, until he got to MGM, did not work at a studio, did not even do studio films. Everything he did was a B movie. Everything he did in the 40s was a B movie where he could be hired as a freelancer because he wasn't stepping on anybody's toes coming in, and you know, that didn't happen until MGM, you know, when they brought him in to shoot the big ballet sequence in An American in Paris. But you know, that's the answer. Fritz Lang didn't really have his choice of cinematographers once he was working in the United States. I mean, when you're at the studio, you could probably ask for somebody from the 5 or 6 guys who were under contract at that studio, but otherwise, no way.
Okay, and this one's from, this is from Bill. I recently watched and enjoyed Born to Kill on Nor Alley. Has anyone ever considered that Sam Wilde was just a guy with a lot of self-esteem and a can-do attitude who believed in the power of the power of positive thinking?
Who believed that he could be president someday? Okay, that was a good. I don't know who wrote that, but good.
Oh yeah. God, your thoughts
a can-do guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was from Bill. Oh my God.
Okay, Bill. Nobody cuts in on me. Nobody cuts in on me. You know, honestly, Sam, you can't just go around killing people whenever it strikes you. It's just not feasible.
God, I love that movie. I love that movie so much. Oh, this is from Derek. Hi, Eddie, relatively new noir head here. My question is about noir music. In one of the TCM intros for In a Lonely Place, you mentioned 2001: A Space Odyssey, both pretty, the Stoner's favorite, both pretty hypnotic films to me, which what are especially effective because of a score. Getting a nice quality tracks from 2001 is easy. With stuff like In a Lonely Place, popping in the Criterion disc is the best you can hope for. Why is there not more of this stuff available? Maybe you can use your influence to get some of this put out there. If not on CD, then tracks made available in a lossless format.
Okay, I wish I was better prepared for this question because there is an outfit that actually is totally dedicated to making available the soundtracks to these films. And it's killing me because I can't think of the name of the company right now, but they did a beautiful On Dangerous Ground, Bernard Herrmann's entire score for that film. And they do dozens and dozens and dozens of these where you can actually hear the entire score. In a Lonely Place, as far as I know, is not one of those. But these are not unavailable, right? I mean, you can find Franz Waxman's scores, you can find Miklos Rozsa's scores, you can find Roy Webb's scores, Max Steiner scores. These are out there. You just have to dig around a little bit, but a lot of this stuff has been digitized and remastered and put out. I can't remember the name of the company right now, but if you look for On Dangerous Ground soundtrack, that will lead you to this company.
This one is from Michael. This is Bran. One of the most recent Ask Eddie, in one of the most recent Ask Eddies, you mentioned seeing a film at the Grand Illusion in Seattle. You've previously made reference to Seattle. Did you once live in Seattle? If so, when, and did you ever attend the Seattle International Film Festival? I live in Kent for 30-something years before retiring to Post Falls, Idaho, and was a regular attendee to SIF. Yeah, that's how I wound up working here at the Film Noir Foundation, actually. So I wrote for the SIF blog, which was, I was asked to start writing for them because of the stuff I was, well, it's kind of a long story. Anyway, the point is I was blogging for them. And so one of the things that I went to was you presented 2 films at Seattle International Film Festival. And I thought, wow, this guy's really great. I want to check out that North City thing. So then I started going to Noir City down here in San Francisco, and then also the San Francisco Silent Film Festival. And I did that for a couple of years. I wrote a bunch of art, I would write all 10 days of the festival when I would blog it, and I would send it to Ted, who's now my friend. And so when I got to San Francisco, then I was here a year, and then I contacted you directly about, hey, is there something I could be doing? And you were like, well, look at the website, see what you think. And I made suggestions like, okay, you do it. So anyway, so yes, I did. I did used to go to SIF. And that's how I wound up here.
I remember that. Yes, I remember that clearly. And it's a lesson. If anybody says to you, hey, is there anything I can do? I'm going to say, yeah, you can do all this. Thanks so much. You can now do all of this. But that was great. Yes, SIF has been an important part of the whole Noir City thing for quite a number of years now. So I'm glad that they brought you to us, Anne. That was, if we accomplished nothing else, we have that. And if we could be having a Seattle Noir City right now, we would not be having it, because it's snowing so much in Seattle right now that it's like done. So it's weird. It's like, too bad we're not there, but we wouldn't even get off. I always stay up on Queen Anne.
Yeah.
The festivals on Capitol Hill, I always stay up on Queen Anne, and I could not get from Queen Anne to Capitol Hill right now because of the snow. So one way or another, it wasn't going to be.
Yeah, no, actually funny you brought that up, because my sister literally sent footage of the snowing, because she's still in Seattle. I thought, yeah, it's crazy. It's also snowing in Texas, by the way. So they're in a big winter storm in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing, Eddie. I think we can do this, but we're going to really go fast, because we got a lot of questions.
Okay. So it's the lightning round. We're going to do the lightning round. Okay.
Okay. Eddie and Ann, can you please both share your thoughts on the 1981 neo-noir film Blowout? Do you think that film remains underseen due to the incredibly bleak and haunting ending?
I don't know.
I mean, everybody I know had seen it, but everybody I know is a film head. I feel like it's a well-known film.
I don't know why this person is thinking it's not a known film. It's also like one of the great reverential films, because it's obviously blowout as opposed to blow up.
Yeah.
And it's an audio thing as opposed to a visual thing like Blow Up was. But no, I don't think it has anything to do with the bleakness of the ending that the film is. Oh, nice. There they are. We get
two cats. See, there are two of them. I did make that up. Emily.
That's fantastic. It's like the Dark Mirror with Olivia de Havilland. There they are, the two of them sharing the same frame.
Yes.
That's amazing. Oh, that's a great shot. Okay, it's sad. We talk, and yet for everybody, the highlight of this video will be this. These two cats, just putting on a show. That's good. Okay, so that's okay, we're going fast now. That was my thing on Blowout. Okay.
Numerous passages from Shakespeare have passed into common usage. How many can you find in noir films? Also, can you think of passages from noir films that have passed into common usage? Okay. I mean, obviously, Maltese Falcon.
Well, that's the one. Yeah, obviously. Although, I've had too much to drink, so I can't tell you the actual quote from The Tempest that, Bogart's, it's, the stuff that we dream on or something. I don't remember the exact quote from The Tempest, but that's where Bogart got that. And Bogart did create that, right? I mean,
that was him?
Yeah. I mean, that line is not in the book.
Yeah.
And they needed something to go out on, and it was actually Bogart who knew his Shakespeare, and God,
that's amazing, because that is such a perfect moment.
Yeah, and he Hammetized it. He took Shakespeare and he put it through the Hammett filter, and he got it's the stuff dreams are made of.
Yeah.
Which isn't the exact line from The Tempest, but it's damn close. But you know, this is not a question. This question is worth more than the lightning round here. If there were quotes from noir that have, you know, passed into common usage, I mean, that's a funny one because I would quote that, but it's, you know, it's Shakespeare via Hammett, via Bogart to get to the stuff dreams are made of, which is its own thing.
Yeah.
Right. My favorite quotes from noir, obviously, it's the one we co-opted for the Film Noir Foundation.
It's a bitter little world.
Exactly. When Paul Henreid says to Joan Bennett, you know, you're a bitter woman. You're a bitter little woman. And she says, it's a bitter little world. You know, that's
that whole speech she gives is so
it's
fantastic.
Incredibly great. And my favorite line in all of film noir is Jan Sterling in Ace in the Hole, when Kirk Douglas tries to convince her to go to church and pray for her husband, and she says, I don't go to church, kneeling bags my nylons. That's like the, you know, that's Billy Wilder, and it's just the greatest line ever. I think the line is, I don't go to church, or it might be, I don't pray. I don't know which one it is exactly. But that's just the best. Tough line for a guy to get away with. I don't pray, kneeling bags my nylons. I can't really toss that off, but it is a great line nonetheless. Okay.
Were there any studio heads that were not in, so were there any studio heads, I think this got cut off. Were there any studio heads that were not in that category that were good to work with, supportive and respectful of their stars in private lives?
So this must have been some kind of Me Too related question about.
And also sometimes, and if you do write in a question, sometimes people put like the first part of whatever in the subject line. Please don't do that, because I have to copy and paste these. So
yes,
always put whatever you're referring to into the body of the letter.
I don't know how to answer this question today.
Okay.
Because I'm not defending anybody, but I can tell you that I think Harry Cohn was a great studio boss, you know, and I've said horrible stuff about Harry Cohn because he was a shit, you know. I mean, he was a horrible, vulgar ogre of a man, but a good studio boss, you know. And so was Daryl Zanuck. You know, so was Louis B. Mayer, and they're not necessarily really good people.
Yeah.
But you know, they were hired to do a job, and they did a pretty damn good job of it, you know. The only one, and I've, you know, said this a million times, you know, Howard Hughes was just, you know, farting around running RKO, you know. He had his own trip, you know. All these other studio bosses were like doing their job. How do I get the greatest return on investment? How do I, you know, and Daryl Zanuck was a writer, for God's sakes. I mean, he was a writer turned studio head. He knew how to make a movie. Howard Hughes had no freaking idea really how to make a movie. Even though he was involved in, you know, from Wings all the way through The Racket and, you know, the original silent one and all this, you know, he was there because he had the money.
Yeah.
But did he actually understand how it worked and what he was doing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I don't have a warm spot for him. But, you know, I'm not going to second guess these other studio bosses. They look what they accomplished. Holy cow. Yeah. While they're, you know, it was a different time. Different time.
And this is from Brian. Can you cite any notable examples of film noir TV series? And he would actually posted The Adventures of Superman, produced in 1951, which was filmed at RKO. Which goes back to what you were saying about everything RKO did felt like noir.
Had a certain noir as well. We did something like this the last time when somebody mentioned Peter Gunn, and we talked about M Squad and Johnny Staccato. Obviously, Alfred Hitchcock Presents is probably the most noir TV series of all time. I'm not big on. I get why he's suggesting Superman, but as anytime somebody puts on a costume, it's no longer noir, right? When you put on I've said that, you know, there is no latex in noir. When people say, are the Batman movies noir? I say, not really, because there is no latex in noir, right? Unless it was like some weird perverted S&M thing that's part, but then I could see the noir aspect of it, you know. But you know, those are the TV shows right there. I think we just mentioned a few: Johnny Staccato, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, M Squad, Peter Gunn. All those are very noir.
And kind of China Smith.
Yeah, China Smith with Dan Duryea. Yeah, very good.
Last year, I read Karina Longworth's book, Seduction, about Howard Hughes. Among the many revelations in its was that Aldo Lupino named names to Haywack and others, even informing on some of her co-stars in order to keep working. So, what's okay, so basically he goes on to say he wouldn't judge her for her actions, but I'm curious to know what Eddie thinks.
I knew that Karina's revelation about that would be hugely disappointing to a lot of people who idolize Ida Lupino. But I mean, I get it. You know, I got an email, the same guy who wrote to me about Boomerang saying, how can they call this noir, you know, went on a rant about Kazan and like, you know, he's a traitor and a horrible person and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, okay. Isn't it hard enough for somebody like Ida Lupino to even get to direct a movie? I mean, I'm not going to think less of her because she did name names. She did it in confidence with the FBI. I think people need to understand how horrific that time was. And I think people understand a little better now after, you know, the last 5 years or so. It's like, Jesus, I mean, there are people in this country who would want us to take a loyalty oath today. And it's like, you got to be kidding me, right? But back then, if you actually thought you could have a career directing movies and you were a woman, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say how dare you have done this, because the game was, I'm going to name people who've already been named. So I'm not telling them anything new, but I'm getting my life back. I can totally understand that. You know, everybody was a victim. That's what Abe Polonsky told me when we talked about all of this stuff. He said, the thing is, everybody was a victim, because that's how they set up the game. That's how the whole thing was rigged. It's like, you're just making victims out of everybody. You know, the head of the HUAC committee, you know, Parnell Thomas, he ended up going to jail. Right? I mean, let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? Yeah. No stones will be thrown. in that case, right? So yeah, it's too bad that it came to that, but I'm certainly not going to rethink my admiration for Ida Lupino because of this, right? Look, Sterling Hayden did it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people did it, and you know, Elia Kazan is a great filmmaker. He's a great filmmaker. There's no denying that. He's an essential part of Hollywood history. It'd be nice if he, you know, held the line and didn't rat out his friends. But these are things that, let's hope we never have to deal with anything like this ourselves. And because it's the worst. And the thing that people need to remember is that it's not the people who are having that light shined on them and are forced to do this. Those aren't the guilty ones. It's the people holding the light and forcing them to do it. Those are the people that, why are we not talking about them and condemning them? I mean, you should be able to have your beliefs and do what you want to do, and that's it. Okay, that was definitely not a lightning round answer, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But
it was a big question.
That's a big question. Yeah.
And I just want to agree with you really quickly, because, you know, I see a lot of that. And like, one of the things that really drives me nuts is like, if I post something about Robert Taylor, people always bring that up. And it's like, you know, Barbara Stanwyck was super conservative and was, you know, I mean, you guys, you're being kind of, I think sometimes that happens too, is that people kind of also apply kind of piecemeal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is from William. Greetings, Eddie, Ann, and Charlotte on the couch. Can you discuss the merits of two film remakes of classic noir, No Way Out based on the Big Clock and Against All Odds based on Out of the Past? Could there be any merits, be it acting, design, or direction, that exceed the original films?
Have you seen these, Ann?
Yes, I have.
Two remakes? Okay.
I have seen the two remakes.
There is nothing in these films that exceed the originals. No. But they're not bad. They're really not bad. No Way Out, I think, is interesting because of the way it extended. Mm-hmm. Like, if you didn't know that it was based on the Big Clock, you might not ever realize it, because they changed it so dramatically. You know, which I have no problem with. Against All Odds, I have some issues with it. I mean, I don't really, there's nothing seductive about Against All Odds, whereas Out of the Past is a very seductive movie. It kind of draws you, and you know, I'm going to just quote Jane Greer, who I talked, who's in it. Jane is in Against All Odds. So is Richard Widmark. And she just said, and, you know, they talked her into going out and promoting the film, because Taylor Hackford, who directed it, you know, really admired Out of the Past, and he felt like he was paying tribute to the film. But Jane said, you know, there's no mystery. There's no mystery. And, you know, you're 20 minutes into the film and Jeff Bridges and Rachel Ward are naked. They're naked and they're, you know, and it's like, this is not what we were doing back in the 40s, right? And inherently, I have no problem seeing either Rachel Ward or Jeff Bridges naked. That doesn't really bother me, right? But it's a mistake. Yeah. It's just a mistake, because you're giving everything away.
No, right? I agree with that completely. And one of the things I would say about No Way Out is Will Patton's performance in that is stellar. That was the first thing where I saw him in, and that, I mean, that film is worth it just for his performance in it.
I agree. I totally agree. And a good role for Kevin Costner.
Yeah, it's one of Kevin Costner's best roles. He's really good in it.
He is good, and so is Sean Young. I know a lot of people just rag on Sean Young.
She's a good actress.
She really had a thing that she did and was very effective on screen, and you know, she will have her place in film history.
Okay, this is from Michael. Just rewatched my copy of The Sniper, and along with the intros and outros Eddie did on Noir Alley, noting that he almost did not want to show it because he dislikes stories where women are random victims. My problem with the film is it's a message movie dressed up in the trappings of a film noir. Another movie came out that year as a sniper with the same basic plot, Without Warning, and I think it's a far better representation of noir in the vein of a police procedurals such as Naked City in the lineup. I'm curious to hear Eddie's take on the two films, The Sniper, I guess, versus Without Warning.
The Sniper is produced by Stanley Cramer. Stanley Cramer made message movies, right? That's his entire career, is making message movies. And The Sniper got produced because he thought he was making a message movie. Without Warning is a very good, you know, B film that has no interest in making and providing a message. So I mean, I get it. You know, they came out at the same time. Trust me, neither of these movies had any influence on anything when they were released. We're all looking at this in hindsight now, but those films left no impact, no cultural impact whatsoever when they were released. If there was an impact, it was negative. Like, well, nobody wants to see a movie about serial killers. It would take like 10 years before the culture would just go berserk, and then serial killer movies would be like everything.
Yeah.
Right. So I get where this person is coming from with this question, but I don't really, I get it. One is designed as a message picture. One is designed as a low budget thriller that deals with the same subject. 9 times out of 10, that low budget thriller is going to be better.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, right? I mean, it's like looking at Gentleman's Agreement in 1947 versus Crossfire, right? Yeah. Gentleman's Agreement is clearly the message picture, and Crossfire it's a message picture, but it's a crime thriller. And guess which one stands the test of time, right? It's the crime thriller, not Gentleman's Agreement. Sorry, Ilya Kazan, we're like dumping on Kazan again.
It's a bad day for him, but I don't really like Kazan. Yeah, I don't really like message pictures either. That always, and just sort of my brain turns off. And plus, I mean, I think also, you know, Robert Ryan in Crossfire is also one of the reasons why that film has stood the test of time, because that's an amazing performance. I mean,
but so is Mitchum. Mitchum, I think, gives an incredibly great performance in that film.
And actually,
so far ahead of its time. Oh my God, everybody's good in that movie.
Yeah, everybody really is. Yeah.
Paul Kelly in Crossfire. One of the weirdest, most underrated, not even underrated, just inexplicable. It's an inexplicable performance in that movie, but it is one of my favorite things about that film. Man, the thing that he does with Gloria Graham in that film is one of my favorite things in all of film noir.
Yeah, their interaction in that film is incredible. I mean, that whole.
How do you know I'm not? How do you know I'm not a liar? I could be lying right now. Wow. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they shot that, but it was fantastic.
Yeah. God, yeah. I need to watch that again. I mean, I've seen it before, but I just haven't seen it in a while. Last question is from Doug. Now that you've been bringing up proto-noirs from the 1930s, here are 3 pre-code proto-noirs I'd like to run past you. All 3 were produced by Warner Brothers and run just a few minutes over an hour. Are either of you familiar with these films? Night Nurse. Of course I'm familiar with Night Nurse. Barbara Stanwyck.
Night Nurse is incredible. This is a fabulous, fabulous movie. The whole pre-code Stanwyck thing is just,
I don't know.
Yeah. TCM should do just pre-code Stanwyck.
Oh God, I'd be so there for it.
Right? I mean, yeah.
She's kind of the perfect pre-code actress. I mean, I know there's all these other ones, but there's because she's just so scrappy. You know, I mean, she's such a tough girl. She's so perfect for those roles. I mean, Babyface, I love that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Okay, let's. I'm gonna go into my colossal crush on Stanwyck and how she's.
And you'll just drag me right along with you.
Yeah. Okay.
From Headquarters, 1933.
I don't know that I've seen this.
I haven't seen From Headquarters. And then Heat Lightning.
Oh yeah, Heat Lightning. I've actually shown Heat Lightning at the Noir City Film Festival in LA.
Oh, in LA, okay.
Yeah. It's great. It is really it's like one of those roadside diner noirs, you know. The whole thing takes place out in the middle of nowhere, and it's really, really good. So yes, so 2 out of the 3, but From Headquarters, I don't know. I've not seen it. So I'm going to thank you very much for not only for the question, but for dropping a title on me that I can now go look up and watch. So that's very good. There's a few other ones that we've shown that I highly recommend. Afraid to Talk is a pre-code, truly a pre-code noir. Afraid to Talk with no, not with Lou Ayres. Lou Ayres is OK America, which is fantastic. Afraid to Talk is an Edward Kahn movie that's great. And Laughter in Hell, based on the Jim Tully novel, is another just extraordinary, weird pre-code movie with Pat O'Brien. These are just off the top of my head, but I've shown all of these, as well as Heat Lightning and Safe in Hell. Safe in Hell is another one that we've shown as part of the Noir City Festival, proto-noirs. So that's like 5 titles that I would highly recommend. So did we get through all the questions?
We got through all the questions.
Well, considering that February is a short month, I'm glad we were able to do this in 2 installments.
No, this is our 3rd one, Eddie.
Oh, no, you're kidding me.
No, this is our 3rd one. I just did not want to have a 4th.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate it. And I know that people have already sent in more questions for the next go round, but it's all great. I hope I'm looking at the timer up here on the screen, and I see we've been talking for like an hour and 41 minutes now.
Yep.
And it's like, seriously, is anybody going to be left standing at the end of this? But apparently people enjoy it. So we have fun.
I have a great time. I do. And also, I just want to thank everybody because these questions are really good. That's why we always go so long. It's because the questions are really thought-provoking. And, it's appreciated that people are taking the time to really think about their questions and send them in. And I enjoy this immensely. It's great.
Yeah, it is fun. And you know, it's interesting. And I try, like, we get the questions and you send them to me.
Yeah.
When you assemble them. But honestly, I kind of scan through it to like look at what have we already dealt with.
Yeah.
But I try not to like think about it too much, because I don't want to just have a pat answer.
Yeah.
You know, I want to, when we talk about it, I want to actually think about it and knock it around with you. And so I appreciate that people watch and they get something out of this, because I'm not just going to sit down there and come up with like a 2-sentence answer for a question. I want to really think about it, because I appreciate that people take the time to you know, prompt us with this stuff. It's really great.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, and it's just things that, and I'm learning a lot too from the questions, and just, you know what I mean? There's things that I've learned a lot doing these, you know, about people I didn't know about before, films I didn't know about before. So
you know, and I hope people don't, you know, yank my my film fan card, because there were a couple of actors referenced there in that one thing that I'm like, I don't know who that is. I just don't know. So, yeah.
it's good. You can't know everything, Eddie. Then you would just be a know-it-all.
You
know-it-all.
would be surprised. In the grand scheme of things, I know so little, it's unbelievable. But, you know, you got to have your focus. So there you go. Okay, Ann, we're going to do this again next month. Right?
Next month. So if we will reconvene in March. So, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions for March.
That will be the 1-year anniversary of this pandemic for me.
I know. I can't believe it's been a year. It's just
March 10th is my 1-year anniversary. I did that gig with David Mamet on March 9th. I came home the next day, and I have not really left my house since then. I have traveled nowhere other than, like, you know, the stuff I do with TCM at the Grand Lake Theater and my grocery store. And other than that, I have not done anything. So there you go. But always nice to see you, Ann, and to see Emily and Charlotte. We missed Milo tonight, but that's okay.
Maybe we'll see him in March.
And maybe I'll coax Tizzy back in front of the camera.
People will like that. Okay, everybody, we'll see you in March.
Thank you.
Thank you.